Hey Vanessa, I just wanted to reach out to you this morning, one widowed parent to another, with a few tips and suggestions and resources that I hope you might find useful as you think about your new role as a widowed parent. It's based on my experience as a widowed parent for the last 4 years, and especially the dozens and dozens of interviews that I've done of grief experts and other experienced widowed parents who've been able to reflect on their journeys, as well as people who lost a parent when they were young and sharing their journeys and their reflections. So, first of all, I guess what I would say is to know that you are not alone. And I hear from listeners all the time that they do feel very alone. They're all of a sudden thrust into this new world as a widowed parent. There are, sadly, lots and lots of us out here. And it really does help to connect to other people in the same situation, people who kind of get it. I think it may be a little trickier in your case as a public figure. So my suggestion would be, if you can, to connect with some other public figures who are experienced widowed parents. So it comes to mind immediately, of course, would be Katie Couric, Sheryl Sandburg, Patton Oswalt. Also, Tembi Locke, who is in your area and is a widowed parent, may be good to connect with as well. And along the same lines, I think that connecting with other people who are adults now who lost a parent when they were young may also be helpful to you. One of the things that I didn't fully appreciate early on was that even though my kids and I both lost the same person, we lost a very different relationship. So I lost a spouse and they lost a dad. And it's just different. It's not that one is better or worse or easier or harder. It's just a different path to be on. And so I've actually found it really a privilege to talk with people for the podcast who are now adults and they lost a parent when they were young. And, I always figure it's not like it's going to tell me exactly what my kids are going through, but it gives me a lot of good ideas, a lot of things to think about. It puts things on my radar screen that I didn't necessarily hadn't necessarily thought of. In your case, your kids are kind of in the public eye too. So the person that immediately jumps to mind as being perhaps the most, parallel situation would be Prince Harry. And I know he's spoken, a lot in recent years about mental health and about losing his mom. So he might be willing to speak. I think that being a 12-year-old in his case and grieving in the public eye has got to be, just adds more and more complexity and difficulty. So that might be useful to you. And of course, other prominent people now, I don't believe they were in the public eye when they were young and grieving, but Anderson Cooper, Stephen Colbert, also Melissa DiArabian, who I believe is also in Southern California from the Food Network. Those they might all have some interesting perspectives that would be helpful to you. If you want to get some additional perspectives, I've interviewed probably a dozen people who lost parents at different ages, all the way from babies, children, teenagers, who are now grown, who've reflected on their journeys. And I think that hearing from a variety of people talking about that is really helpful. Another thing, if you've got friends who are saying, how can I help, and you're not really sure what to tell them or, how they can help you, you might suggest asking them to do some research for you. So the first thing that comes to mind would be the National Alliance for Grieving Children, and I'll put their website in the notes below. But they've got a resource page where you can go and look by city and state and find children's and family grief programs and centers in your community. So a lot of these groups have peer support groups for different ages of kids and adults and other kinds of activities and connections to Camp Aaron for kids and lots of good things. And I think it would be worth asking a friend to maybe do a little bit of digging around and try to find some options for you there. And then similarly, there are some really terrific online resource libraries. The first one that comes to mind is from Hamilton's Academy of Grief and Loss in Iowa, and then also the Dougy Center in Portland, Oregon, and Eluna. All three of those have online resources. Thinking of Hamilton's particularly, they've got whole list of 1 and 2 page, easy to download, easily available, broken down by every topic you can think of. Grief for different ages of kids, you know, if you're thinking about babies, teenagers, kids, sheets on trauma, explaining cremation, if that, you know, if they have questions about that. Just every topic you can imagine, and I think that's a really helpful resource. So I'll put the links for Hamilton's and also Dougie and Aluna, who also have terrific resources on their website. I'll put those in the notes too. So again, that kind of online research is the kind of thing that if friends are saying, how can I help, you could ask them to go and look into that for you. And then finally, if you just, you know, looking for some kind of information from the privacy of your own home, anonymously, quietly, not a big public thing, please do check out the Widowed Parent podcast. I've heard from a lot of listeners, whether they're early on in their journey or farther down the road, that after listening they feel, first of all, less alone, and secondly, they find the discussions themselves with the experts and the others helpful as they think about, you know, their own families and how they can help their kids. So I hope that this is at least somewhat helpful to you, and good luck to you. I really do wish you the best, to you and your girls. All right, see ya. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and keep smiling.